Hello, my name is Eric Ellis, and I want to give a sincere thank you to Pedro, Sam, and the team for having Accenture out. We really appreciate this partnership. I joke often that with Accenture's scale, and we'll start there, we have 790,000 endpoints globally, which tends to break a lot of our partners' platforms. We have yet to break NextThink, I will say. So if there's nothing else, we really appreciate that beyond what the value NextThink provides. What I hope to talk about today and what I hope to discuss is some practical takeaways that everyone in this group can bring back to their organization, potentially implement, or if nothing else, at least drive some thoughts around innovation. And you might be thinking, well, Accenture, at 790,000 endpoints, you're nothing like us. And I completely disagree with that sentiment. We're exactly like you. We have the exact same problems. The only difference that we have is we have a bigger sample size. That's really what it comes down to. Where we think about NextThink as part of our overall modern endpoint management framework, and there's a number of key components of that, and you can see them on the screen there. But what we really want to focus on is endpoint analytics. As you've heard today from Gartner and from Siemens, there's a journey that you go on, and you have to start with the data. And that's really what NextThink provides us, and that's really how we've solved this particular building block of our overall modern management framework. And it's been crucial for us to really drive that value and facilitate all of the other aspects that come with our modern management framework. So when we implemented NextThink and we were driving towards DEX, what was our goal? What were we after? So at 790,000 endpoints, the only way you're going to solve that problem is with data and automation. And so what we look to do is take data-driven insights, speed up time to resolution, and boost our device performance, ultimately working towards an enhanced user experience. But even more than that, and really what does that really boil down to? What are we really after? What we're really after is time. We have 790,000 people. We really want them focused on their day jobs. We really want them spending their time working on the reason that we hired them. There's been some common themes throughout. Siemens just referred to it as touchless IT. Accenture refers to it as silent IT operations, but it all means the same thing. What we're really looking to do is get out of the way of the employee, let them do their job, and for us not to be a blocker in that. So what we really want to do is focus on giving time back, or at least not taking time from the employee. And even when Sam and Pedro were speaking today, a lot of the things that NextThink is building, they're all built and they're all focused on giving back time. Time to the employee, time to the service desk agents. So when you talk about incident reduction, all that is, what we're fundamentally saying is we don't want employees spending time working through incidents themselves. We don't want our service desk agents spending their time working with employees for things that we can fix for them. So fundamentally what we're after is time. Even with a lot of the Gen AI capabilities, what we're talking about is saving time, right, for our engineering team to leverage Gen AI to speed up their time to investigate things of that nature. What's on the screen now is what I like to refer to as post-COVID, or maybe it's the advent of the Gen AI period. But none of this is particularly new, and it's fairly common with a lot of the workplaces that we see today. We're working from home, working from anywhere. Some of my colleagues I was discussing this week, they're out on the road for 3 weeks at a time. Because of that, right? We can't ship to. We don't want people coming into the offices to pick up devices. We want to ship them to them, so they're not taking the time away from doing that. Self-service and zero touch, right? Predictive, self-healing. It's all geared towards saving time. And then really what we're trying to do then is move from the service level agreements to the experience level agreements. And that's really what Gartner was referring to, is moving towards that experience level and ensuring that people have an experience that allows them to focus on their job and really do what they were hired for. So what does this look like? There's a journey that as you start down, leveraging DEX as a core capability of your environment, there's a journey that everyone goes on. And it starts off with tactical. And how I refer to this, or how I think about this, is you'll install NextThink, you'll get your platform up and running, you'll fire it up, and there'll be some things you can't unsee. There'll be some glaring red lights, right, that are going off that are very obvious problems that you can solve. And so right out of the box, you get some insights for things that you can go address. Gartner mentioned it as in the grocery example, right? You'll have 6 months of groceries and only 2 weeks of capacity to store those groceries. That's exactly what this is. You can spend a year, right, working through just what's in the tactical framework. And, right, and you'll get insights for faster troubleshooting and more IT decision based. And then you move into the proactive stage, right? This is you've generally addressed what's happening in the tactical framework, right? And you're moving into the proactive stage. So you improved employee perception. And what this means is the advent of the silent IT operations. No longer do employees think of IT as something that, or an issue with their device that they're trying to fix, right? And so you move into this frame of no longer being in the employee's way. And then you'll move into implementing the scientific method, which is really what this discussion is geared around. And we're going to talk about the scientific method in a second. But it's sort of a curious, what does that really mean? So we'll talk about that in a second. And then really what we're trying to move away from is, in the proactive stage, is user-initiated incident reduction. Right, and then you move into the continuous improvement phase. And what we're looking at here is, more cost-effective IT platform. And what this means is you can manage with the same number of people, you can manage significantly more devices or significantly more applications, right? So the cost of your IT department in relation to what you're managing significantly is reduced, right? And you become much more efficient in your incident and problem management, driving down your mean time to resolution, again, saving time. And then you have increased adoption of your IT products because there's less challenges and less issues with those products. And then finally, right, you move into the strategic phase. And what's here is increased employee retention, tailored IT services, et cetera. And Gartner really talked about this as well, where they referenced, employees might be looking for their next job. But if they're having a bad experience in your environment today, right, they're going to look outside outside your own company. But if you can address those situations and you can make that employee experience delightful, is how we like to refer to it, right? They're going to look within your company, and you're going to become a strategic, a strategic part of delivering those IT services to your users. So let's talk a little bit about the scientific method. I had a boss that I would come to him and say, hey, we need to go this direction or that direction, and he would pound his fist in a joking way, show me the data, right? And so it all comes down to having that data available and using that data to determine what your next move is. But it really comes down to using the scientific method. And there are two types of users of NextThink. There are administrators who use the scientific method and know it, and there are users who don't realize that they're using the scientific method. So what the scientific method comes down to is you have to observe and question. We have a slow PC environment. You have to develop on a hypothesis. If we address this application, or we add memory, or we upgrade our device fleet, we think we can increase that employee experience. Then you experiment and analyze. You make changes to the environment, right? You refresh devices. You see what impact that has, and then you can draw the conclusions in terms of what does that actually look like. We see this play out over and over again with our clients, right? So Siemens, you described a lot of the benefits that they saw. And what's on the screen here are clear examples of the scientific method. So Siemens, with 230,000 employees, right? They were looking at application crashes. They drew some conclusions. They made changes to their environment, upgraded applications, addressed bug fixes, and within the data, you can see clear improvements of what that looks like. We had a professional services organization that we worked with, right? Where they had the observation where their employees were saying, hey, the experience is slow and frustrating, right? And so we implemented an experiment, right, where we identified, app drivers and crashes. We, automated some of the cache cleanup, right? And then over the course of just 4 months, they went from an average of less than, around the 6.5 mark to over 7.5 within 4 months. But it's all based on leveraging and implementing the scientific method. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to completely transform the employee experience and really leverage data to accomplish that. So what you can achieve with NextThink is the always-on scans. And what I think about with this is once you build a scan, or once you build a study, or once you build a flow or an automation, it's always there, right? And it can continually run, whether you're watching or not. And so you can continue to gain benefit as the environment changes underneath you. You can continue to gain benefit from leveraging that automated platform. Data empowers product teams. I'll talk a little bit about some of the keys to success. But when you have the data, we know that some of our employees are suffering in silence, so to speak. But when we have the data that we understand what their real experience is, we can go and address those issues without them having to tell us. Right, and then obviously you have some always-on proactive and reactive remediations. Right, this is sort of core to what NextThink does. But again, once you build these items, you always have them available to you, and then you can build upon those and mature through your DEX journey. So what does this look like in some practical, real-world examples? As I mentioned, despite the fact of our 790,000 total size, we have very similar problems. So earlier, 2 years ago, we were migrating from an incumbent antivirus provider and moving to Defender. We had a sample size or an initial deployment group of 10,000 users. We saw some significant crashing happening within that tool. We went and we worked with Microsoft. Within 2 months, we had eliminated those Defender crashes by 99%, right? And so by leveraging that data, we were able to make critical decisions about migrating from one platform to the next platform because we had that data. We reduced the time to resolution in so many cases. We have the very obvious and somewhat humorous. When you call the service desk, the first thing they're going to ask you to do is reboot. If you call with an issue with your browser, the first thing they're going to ask you to do is clear the cache. And so what we've done here is we've enabled the service desk with remote actions, and we've brought down the cache clearing scenario down by 40%. So what this looks like is a user will call the service desk. They'll say, hey, I can't reach the portal. The service desk will say, have you cleared the cache? And the user will say, how do I do that? And the service desk will say, don't worry about it. Let me do that for you. And they'll click a single button, right? And it'll send a remote action to that user's desktop and clear the cache for them. Not only does this help, because it'll most likely solve their problem instantly, but it also eliminates a variable, right, in that sort of scenario. So we see these sort of situations play out all the time, and there's all sorts of value to be extracted. So what do the key milestones look like when becoming an experience-driven organization? Right, there's sort of the short-term, medium-term, long-term capability. And what that looks like, and I'll focus sort of on the last couple bullets there, is that you really want, out of the gate in the proactive phase, you really want to get to a score of an overall DEX score of 70. And what this looks like is eliminating all of your devices that have a DEX score of 30 or below. You probably don't have awareness, we didn't have awareness that we had devices that actually fell into this range. But we can go out, right, and eliminate those devices. You can instantly sort of bring up the experience for that particular user. And it's surprising, like you'll find it surprising that you actually do have users that are, again, suffering in silence, with that sort of DEX score. Then, you move into the midterm, which you don't want any devices below a 50. Your overall DEX score is 75, and 30% of your issues are resolved through automation. Right, so you instantly have some gains there. And then finally, you move into the long term, and you become a key part of the business strategy, right? An overall DEX score of 85. So in general, all of your users have a great experience, and then no device below a 60. And then you're leveraging your DEX score to influence your overall organization strategy, and I'll talk about that here in a second as well. So where all this sort of concludes at, like what are the key lessons learned that Accenture has determined as we went through our own journey, and that we pass along to our clients all the time. And even Gartner, in some of the opening comments, I think one of the opening comments that Pedro and Sam made was that something like 96% of organizations feel that within whatever the time frame was, that they'll have a dedicated DEX team. Before knowing that statistic, that is one of our key lessons learned. Investing in a team is critical. You really need a dedicated team who's extracting value, from the tool, to really address those issues. The second thing is, democratizing the use of NextThink is a must. What I mean by this is, we have 1,500 of our employees that have access to NextThink. This is service desk agents, local technology support agents, and of course our core engineering. And because of this, sort of the concept there is that, my engineering team hasn't cornered the market on innovation. We want to, democratize the use of that data and allow innovation to happen anywhere. And then finally, right, sort of the basis of what NextThink is that, once you fire up NextThink, you will see things that you can't unsee that are issues within the organization. Every organization has them, and those issues continue to pop up. I've been in live demos myself using NextThink, and we'll go into alerts and diagnostics, and we'll see some new application that has bubbled up to the top in terms of the application that crashes the most. And it's like, wow, that's interesting. We should go fix that. So those sorts of things happen all the time. So what does our team look like? What we really try to achieve is a set of group that is really focused on the platform itself and ensuring that the platform stays up and running, right? So just making sure that the agents are installed where they need to be installed, et cetera. And then we have a functional team, right? And this is a team who's really trying to extract data or extract value from the tool. So we have value administrators. These are people who stand up with, as NextThink innovates, what can Accenture implement in our environment. Your data analysts and data scientists, obviously folks who are out there looking at the data, seeing what issues we have in our environment. We have developers, so folks who develop within the tool and create remote actions to solve problems that we observe. And of course, testers to make sure that everything works as expected. But anchoring back to the investment in the team, right? You also have to invest in your partners within your organization. So a lot of times you can figure out issues that are happening within NextThink, the tool itself, but those partners need to work with the engineering teams to actually go address those issues. And we find that sort of as a significant problem within organizations where teams don't sort of have that internal partnership to go address those issues. So you have to address that at the leadership level to ensure that those partnerships exist, where if there's an issue with Windows, right, you're involving your Windows engineering team to actually go fix that. So it's super critical to establish those partnerships and make this sort of a key priority within those teams. So I'll just sort of leave you with what are the core value streams and what is Accenture, what are we focused on in terms of leveraging NextThink and where do we really see the value? So the first big thing, and anchoring back to the part where we land in terms of the strategy, right? This year we have a project going on where we're moving entirely away from a time-based mechanism for device refresh, and we're moving that entirely based on NextThink data. So we have a portal where employees can go and look at to see when their device refresh is up. We've changed the date in that portal to say core IT will reach out. We're looking at Gen AI-based data. Core IT will reach out to you when your device no longer suits your needs, right? And it's worded better than that, but you get the gist. And as a result of that, within the first year, we think we're going to save upwards of tens of millions of dollars, potentially over $50 million or more, just by extending the life cycle of our devices by 12 to 18 months, right? And there's a number of sustainability gains there as well. Always on performance, right? So we observe 75 business applications. All of those applications have an 80+ DEX score. And where they drop below that, as the environment changes, we can address that. We democratize, right, the data. So we have 1,500 agents globally that have access to NextThink, and they're innovating within the tool. And we've estimated that we will avert over 10 million incidents this year. And what this is based on is as we see application crashes, things that might cause a user to call the service desk, we extrapolate, as we fix those issues, we extrapolate those on an annual basis. And this is what we project. We have we address almost 500,000 compliance issues, security compliance issues a week. At Accenture scale with 800,000 devices, it's actually not that hard to get to 500,000. This is things like agent restarts and things of that nature. And then finally, right, we see that 30% reduction in overall mean time to resolve for our incidents. This is users calling the service desk, leveraging NextThink as a key platform to address user issues, and then move on so everyone can get back to their day. So this is what I'll leave you with. I would love to interact with any of you. I'll be out and around at the event here, so please come up and ask questions and discuss. And I wish you the best of luck on your NextThink journey. Thank you.